ready? Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the Rye Town Council meeting of June 18th, 2019. Please rise. Join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Heavenly Father, bless this assemblage. Grant us wisdom to make every decision fair-minded in the best interest for all its residents. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, Madam
Yes.
Clerk.
Councilperson Lindsay Jackson.
Yes.
Councilperson Thomas Nardi.
Here.
Councilperson Jill Axelrod.
Here.
Councilperson Anthony Baxter.
Here.
And Supervisor Gary Zuckerman.
Here. Our first item is adoption of the minutes of May 21, 2019. If there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion and a second?
I'll make the motion.
I'll set.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. We have a public hearing on local law number 2 of 2019, the EIC open sea space in the town of Rye. May I have a motion and a second to open the public hearing?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Debbie, do you want to tell us briefly what this is? Or Hope can, anybody?
Yes. Energize New York has shepherded us through the process of introducing legislation that would enable the residents of the town of Rye, the commercial organizations within the town of Rye, to make energy saving improvements to their properties and to finance it with very highly favorable rates and repay the financing through their taxes, which is a structure that caused the town council some concern, so much so that the first time the idea was presented, the council did not vote in favor and instead thought about it for quite a while. And then in, I believe, 2016, or possibly early 2017, we passed that legislation. And what has happened in the interim is Energize New York has developed that legislation and the structure even further, so that now this new law still gives the resident organizations within the town the favorable financing, but does not require our receiver of taxes to collect the repaid debt. It's a good thing.
Very good. I'm sure that makes you very happy, Mr. Receiver. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Now is the resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the Energize New York municipal agreement. And
also
Is
to
it-
adopt the local law.
I don't see something. So there are two things. One is adopting the local law,
Yes.
and the other is, okay, so let's adopt the local law. Adopting local law number 2, EIC open sea pace. May I have a motion and a second?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion?
Deb, I just wanted to know, I know this was discussed briefly last meeting. Have any of our commercial properties owners taken advantage of this program?
I believe the answer is no. I would like our receiver to confirm that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Has any organization taken advantage of this program? No.
Okay.
I know that Westchester County now has Peter McCart, who's involved in, he works for the county executive, he's involved in sustainability, and maybe we can reach out to him. He might know some residents who are interested or help you know.
I think this is for businesses, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but he may have some sustainable focused businesses.
All right. Very good. It's open to all business owners in the town of Rye, and there are a lot of them, especially in Portchester. So, we have a motion and a second. Hope, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson.
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi.
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod.
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter.
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. And now a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the municipal agreement. I may have a motion and a second for that.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Then please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson.
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi.
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod.
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter.
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. We have an award this evening, a certificate of appreciation to Michael, is it Loja? Is that the correct pronunciation?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we have him come up here?
Sure, absolutely. For a special project. Michael, do you want to come up here?
Oh, yeah.
This is a community service award to you, Michael, in recognition of your outstanding assistance in completing the project of scanning and indexing 9,994 deeds for the Records Department of the town of Rye. That's the Records Department. This is the record. And
That's a
I
record.
understand you did fantastic work. And we are really, really appreciative. And thank you so much. I hope you like working for us.
I do.
We want to keep you on, right?
Yes,
Did he start as an intern?
Yes, he
Yes, he
did.
did.
He was part of our summer internship program last year, and he worked out so well, and I asked if he could stay on at least for after school. He would come an hour and a half or an hour a day, and we're so delighted because he is an amazing worker. And
Come over here. Come over, you go on the other side.
okay.
Okay. Take a picture.
That's all right, Mike. There we go.
Great.
And
Thank you so
I'd
much.
like to recognize his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Loja.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
He is a great worker, and we want him to stay here. And come back after he graduates college. All right? Terrific. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you.
It really is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Don't forget to show up tomorrow.
You know, and seriously, that's an important part, because at least since I've been supervisor, it's been a goal of the council to completely digitize all of our records, and that is a very big part of it, and he's doing terrific work for us, so thank you again, Michael.
Yes, digitizing everything, including meeting agendas and
Yeah,
backup is
Pretty
very
soon, we're gonna
important.
digitize you.
Be a
I was making
hologram.
fun of Tony this time.
It's okay. I take it. Never fails.
All right, is there comments from the public on any non-agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on. Resolutions. We have a series of resolutions, bond resolutions. At least now they're bond anticipation notes. We have to pass first an environmental compliance resolution, and then the actual bond resolution. These were prepared by bond counsel, and let me tell you what each of them is about, and then we'll take them one at a time. One is for additional costs regarding the Crawford Community Center renovation, and that also includes the cost of our re-roofing of the pavilion, which was sorely needed and which we approved, I guess, a couple of meetings ago. Debbie, about 2 meetings ago, we approved the pavilion re-roofing, correct?
Yes.
So, and that's a substantial number, totaling 4.9 million. The second one is for Rye Town Park improvements for 2 million, much of which we're going to get back because the improvements that are ongoing at the park, for example, the seawall, the bathhouse, the ramps, are all, we've gotten grant money for all of them, 50% grants for the ramps and the, and actually, not quite 50%, actually still seeking more money for the roof of the bathhouse, and a 90% grant for the seawall. But we have to lay out the money first before we get it back, and this is what this does. So, and the third one is issuing a note for the Hillside Avenue Bridge. That's a project close to Lindsay's heart, right, Lindsay?
Yeah.
And
born
we
on
may
Hillside
not
Avenue.
actually, this is we're authorizing the issuance of a bond. We might not actually need it because this particular item is the town and the Village of Amerenik and the town of Amerenik have also applied for a grant from the county to fund the local part. This $200,000 is the town of Rye's share of the local match. This project, I think, is what, $3.5 million? Debbie, is that the correct number?
For the roof,
No, Hillside
Hillside.
Avenue.
Hillside Avenue, the bridge. It's 3.5 million.
Yeah.
yeah.
And this is a 90% or 95% match from the Bridge New York fund. And this is a joint project of the town of Rye, the town of Amerenik, and the Village of Amerenik, with the Village of Amerenik as lead agency. So those are the three projects. And the first one we'll take is the environmental compliance resolution for this has to be amended, by the way, because it says present was Town Attorney Jeff Binder, and Jeffrey is obviously not here.
Yeah.
So let me, I was remiss in not
Well,
introducing
I
Dan.
didn't really have to fill this in yet. This
Okay.
will be done when I have to submit it.
Okay,
Mhm.
so Dan Tartaglia, our special counsel, is sitting in. Jeffrey is attending the graduation of from high school of his daughter this evening. And so Dan is ably sitting in, right, Dan? Very ably.
Yes, sir, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay,
Thank you.
so this is the environmental resolution, and it determines that the town, is lead agency, it's a type 2 action, and no further action is required. Actually, it says that this is not an action, so it's technically not even subject to secret, but we need to pass this. So, may I have a motion and a second on the environmental compliance resolution?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Please call the roll, Hope.
Councilperson Jackson.
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi.
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod.
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter.
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. Okay, and now is the resolution for the bond, and in the amount of 4.9 million, and it's self-explanatory. It's for costs for it says improvements to town buildings, including the Crawford Park Community Center and Pavilion, including the acquisition of any applicable equipment, machinery, apparatus, etc. And this, by the way, as are the others, is subject to a permissive referendum, so we may not issue a bond for 30 days after this resolution takes effect. Is that right, council?
That is correct.
Okay. So So let me have a motion and a second.
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, are there any discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson.
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi.
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod.
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter.
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. Now the environmental compliance resolution for our share of the Rye-Town Park improvements. Again, this is basically the same resolution, that this is type 2, this is not an action. And there's no further environmental review necessary. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Ca-
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson.
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi.
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod.
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter.
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. And the third one, no, let's go to the resolution for the Rye-Town Park improvements. Again, this reflects the town's share, which is slightly over 60% of the total improvements, and much, if not most, of this will be coming back to us in the form of already approved grants. So, may I have a motion and a second?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
And if there are no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson.
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi.
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod.
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter.
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. And the environmental compliance resolution for the Hillside Avenue Bridge.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll
Second.
Tony seconds it.
Tony.
If there are no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson.
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi.
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod.
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter.
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. And the resolution for the bridge improvements. May I have a motion and a second for that?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
And if there are no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson.
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi.
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod.
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter.
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. The next resolution, excuse me, is to amend the town's personnel manual. That we have a memo in the packet. And this regards extended sick leave and family leave policies. Debbie, do you want to tell us briefly what this is in relation to?
Yes, there are a number of pieces to this recommendation. The first is that as part of a review of our entire personnel manual and policy, we were advised that the town is in fact subject to FMLA requirements, Family Medical Leave Act requirements. Ordinarily, companies that have fewer than 50 employees are not. However, what was missed is that the town is a public employer and therefore it is not exempt. It must comply. So a big part of what we've done is we've now entered language pursuant to the statute for complying with FMLA, which is the ability of people to take family medical leave, to take care of a loved one, and there are very specific definitions of what qualifies as such an event, and how long they can take that leave, and that they can come back for the same or an equivalent position. So we've included that language. Also, our previous personnel policy was silent with regard to sick leave of any length of time, short or long term. So we've addressed that gap. In addition, we are, and this is something that I wrote to you a couple of months ago, it came to my attention that it was more expensive and provided less benefits to employees for us to be self-insured for disability insurance. And so I found a standard disability leave insurance policy that even had a rider on it for paid family medical leave that will provide our employees with the ability to take leave, to know that they have some income coming in, coming from the insurance company rather than from the town having to pay it out of the town treasury. And in addition, for the critical care of a loved one, or for example, to take care of a new baby, this will provide 55% of the employee's compensation for a number of weeks. We've also followed the example of several of our local neighbors, municipal neighbors, and introduced the idea of a sick bank, which you may very well be familiar with. And it establishes a policy whereby employees who have more sick leave than they feel that they need are able to contribute some of their banked sick days for the use of a colleague who very much needs them. And in that way, that colleague would be able to have more paid sick time and not have to be out on leave without compensation. There was one piece that I haven't mentioned, and I'm trying to remember what that was. Yes, we are also recommending a change in the way that the town compensates employees of good standing who leave the employ of the town. Up until now, employees could bank their sick days, and when they left, they got a check in the up to 65 days at whatever salary level they were working at when they left the town. They could bank up to 65 days, and they left with that compensation, which in a couple of recent examples has caused actually an auditor's note because it blew the budget on a couple of lines. So it's a substantial hit to the town budget when those things happen. So we have introduced the provision that we've capped the buildup of days, and we are also recommending that all employees hired in the future be able to use those days for not for cash compensation, but rather for retirement credits, which is a standard which is followed all over Westchester County, local municipalities, Rybrook, et cetera. Many of them do this, so that the banked days actually enable them to get more credit for their retirement.
Is there, in regards to the insurance, the disability insurance, is there a length of time in which the town needs to buy into the insurance program before the employees become eligible to receive the 55% compensation?
No, they were eligible as soon as we bound the policy.
Okay.
Other questions? No? May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Just one comment for me. I think this is really an advance. A lot of thought was put into this by Debbie and others. Consultation, I guess, Vince Toomey, our Labor Council, had a lot of input into this to bring us up to a situation, I think, where from being way behind to being in the forefront of these kinds of policies, family leave and disability. So I think this is a really good move. So please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson,
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi,
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod,
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter,
Yes.
and Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. Our next item is, I think this may have been a surprise to some people in the last few days, appointing a new member to the Board of Assessment Review, Milt Meiskin, who has served in that capacity, most of the time as chairman, I would say, well in excess of 20 years. Is that correct, Hope?
Yes.
Maybe as many as possibly 40 years? I mean, I would say probably 30 years anyway on the Board of Assessment Review, just a guess on my part. Has resigned due to health reasons, and this is an appointment that is recommended by the Village of Rybrook. As you may be aware, the Village of Rybrook and the Village of Portchester each have two members appointed. In each case, one of the two members is recommended by the village. In the other case, the town makes a recommendation or initial appointment that gets approved by the village, and then is subsequently appointed by the town. The town in each case makes the appointment. This is the member that is recommended by Rybrook and then appointed by the town. And Joan Feinstein, former mayor of Rybrook, current member of the assessment task force for the town of Rye, is recommended to be the new member of the Board of Assessment Review. And that resolution is before us. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further comment?
Well, first I would like to thank Mr., and I am going to mispronounce his name, Meiskin, for his, years of service to the Town Board of Assessment Review, and wish him the best. And I also want to express my excitement in having the former mayor join the Board of Assessment Review. She's a highly qualified, highly professional person, and she's going to do a fantastic job. So I look forward to having her serve on the Board of Assessment Review.
And she already sat in, she couldn't act officially, but she was there today at Grievance Day, which probably went on for 12 hours or so, and may still be going on.
And she hasn't run away yet? No. Yeah, she's fantastic, so this is great news.
So, did we do a motion in a second yet?
Yes.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson,
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi,
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod,
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter,
Yes.
and Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes, enthusiastically, yes. Our next resolution is the Central Tree Services Renewal. This is a piggyback resolution on the Village of Rybrook's contract extension. Debbie, they've been serving us now for, this is the third year, I believe.
This is yes, correct.
And
Well, we're beginning the third year.
yeah, this is also earlier the Rye-Town Park Commission approved this same contract for Central Tree, which has given us excellent service, and there is no increase in price, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So may I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson,
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi,
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod,
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter,
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. The next item is a bit unusual. calls for the town of Rye to advance money to the Rye Town Park Commission. And the reason for that is that, as most of you are aware, there is considerable work being done at the park, most of which is being funded by grants. But until the grants are received, we need to lay out the money. Earlier, we approved bond resolutions regarding that, but obviously the bond resolutions are not going to take effect for a couple of months. And the Park Commission does not have close to $250,000 to make those payments. Capital work is financed almost 60% by the town of Rye and 40% by the city of Rye. Normally, what happens is after the audit are done each year, the Rye Town Park Commission sends a bill for its share to each of the city and the town, which then pays it. But because the audit obviously has not been completed, we have an informal arrangement between the Park Commission and the city of Rye that they will pay the capital bills when they receive the voucher and the commission shows proof of payment. Actually, the Rye Town Park Commission already agreed to accept this advance at the earlier meeting. The town's share will be sent, since I'm both the supervisor and the president of the commission, the town's share will be sent as it normally does upon receipt of the bill, without necessarily proof of payment, and we're not going to wait for the audit, obviously, to pay our share, because these bills have to be paid immediately. So the town is going to be paying approximately $188,000. Is that correct?
Sounds about right. I
Davey,
wanna-
we worked on these figures today. So we're going to put that money in directly into the commission, which is our obligation to do, even though it varies a bit from the usual process. And we're going to advance the city's share, and we'll get that back when we send the city proof of payment of those bills. Several of the bills, excuse me, have been paid, but others, we just have the vouchers and we'll be paying them.
The town's obligation is $189,110.
It's
Okay.
there, it's in your compass.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at it.
So the resolution I'm reading reads 122,326.
That is correct.
So is the difference the
That's-
city's share? We're
That
then
is
gonna
the
get
share,
back?
that is
The-
the city share.
The
Our share,
additional, in terms of,
The-
our share is 122 and
the-
the city is,
The
No,
the town's share is $189,110. What we're doing is advancing the city of Rye's share until we have paid those bills and then submit to them a request for reimbursement.
It's broken down on the spreadsheet after the resolution.
And I think it's important to note that earlier this evening at the Rye Town Park Commission Board, this resolution was passed by the commission. Two of its members are representatives from the city of Rye, so the city of Rye is in agreement with this hypothetically.
and I'd like to thank Lindsay for sitting in as a Rye Town Park Commission member for Benny Salinitro. So she was there and voted on it. So now, Lindsay, you have to vote on this one.
All right.
so just so I'm clear, so
Sure.
we're advancing the town?
No,
No,
Not the
City of
town,
Rye.
just the city of Rye.
right, if you look,
In anticipating receiving the grants, and then we'll be repaid within 60 days, because this is a 60-day.
no. If you look at the bottom column,
Yep.
horizontal column. See 122?
Yep.
That's the City of Rye
I
obligation.
understand.
The 189,
I
that's the
understand.
Town of Rye obligation. So we're just paying our obligation. We are advancing the City of Rye obligation at interest to the Rye Town Park Commission. So the opportunity cost, we have we have 60-day CDs at a 2.03 interest rate. So we're losing that by taking the money out, and the commission will repay it at the 2.03 rate. So the town of Rye is not losing money.
But there's no grant reimbursement with regard to any of these expenses. That was the other resolution where there were,
Not at this particular time.
correct.
But when we get the remaining money, in other words, the money we're approving, let's just focus on the Rye Town Park bond resolution that we just passed.
That was for the seawall.
Yeah, but
That
that
was
was
for grant
also,
monies.
that was also, for example, the roof of the bathhouse, which we have an outstanding bill of $177,000 from the roofer, and an additional one that is going to be coming in of what, the 20-some-odd thousand?
22.
22,000. So, yes, we're gonna be getting grant money back on that, but we have to pay that now, and that has to come out of the commission, which doesn't have the money. If it was the town, we would pay it. But the commission does not have that money in the bank. It does not raise taxes, it has no ability to float bonds. So that's how the capital works. So that's what this is about. And we expect, the 60 days is put in there because we expect it to come back within that, and then to be able to redeposit the money into another 60-day CD. Is that correct, David? Okay, I have it right? The lawyer got the math right? Oh, my God.
So this fund's advance is to cover the City of Rye.
Yes.
Yes. Until we give them the bill that shows that it's been paid, and then they will reimburse
Okay.
the capital. Okay? Do we have a motion and a second, Hope?
No,
Yeah, no?
not yet.
Motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
You? Please call the roll.
Sure. Councilperson Jackson,
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi,
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod,
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter,
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. And now we have our reports. Nick, do you have any additional report other than the submission of your tax collection report?
Mr. Supervisor, members of the Town Council, good evening. Nick Mecca, receiver of taxes. I'd just like to remind everybody, Rye, Brook, and Portchester, your village taxes are due by the 30th of this month. I also believe Mamaroneck has the same cycle, but we do not collect Mamaroneck's taxes. But because of the fact, excuse me, that the 30th is on a Sunday, you can personally come in on Monday, July 1st, and pay your taxes with no penalties.
Nick, can you pay it by mail if it's postmarked on?
Yes, as
on
long as it's
Monday?
postmarked by June 30th, you're fine.
What if it's, well, June 30th is a Sunday, so they don't postmark. Can you
No.
have it postmarked on?
Well,
July
they do
1st.
they do during the night. A lot of the post offices work during the night, and it can be. But as long as it's not July postmarked, we will accept it.
Okay.
Then there's a second point I'd like to bring to the board. Next Tuesday is a countywide primary for county judge. Now, it's a independence and Democratic primary, so you must belong to that party to vote. The only reason why I bring this, because if you vote in Bruno Ponterio School or Blind Brook School, You cannot vote there next Tuesday. Because of the construction, those polling places are being moved to the Rye Brook Firehouse, which is located right next to Village Hall at 938 King Street. And that affects yourself and affects Hope also. So,
Wow.
so just keep that in mind. There would be no polling place for District 22, 23, 27, 29, or 30. They will all go to the firehouse in Rye Brook to vote next Tuesday.
Nick, I understand about the Bruno Ponterio School. I didn't realize that Blindbrook was also being under construction.
Both of them, yes. Mhm.
Will either,
Westchester is okay. They're allowing the school, they're allowing the votes to take place there, but
at King Street School, they're voting?
King Street is fine. Yeah. So it's just those two.
Nick?
Okay?
I think you talked to the Board of Elections today, and that everyone in those districts will receive.
They tell me that they have received notification. They say it's a yellow, bright yellow card, so everybody spots it.
I guarantee you that that's not true.
It's not true you didn't get
It's
it?
not true.
No. But that's what they tell me.
Okay.
They
Okay.
threw out Gary's.
Well, they don't want me to vote.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Receiver. Submitted is the highway report. Hope, do you have any other report other than submitting your
Yes,
written
I
report?
just want to elaborate on the award that we gave Michael today. These are old deeds that we're no longer able to get access from the Westchester County records. And these are deeds that are in enormous files that were on 10 Pearl Street in the basement, and then they were taken to 222 Grace Church Street and placed in the basement. And there's so often that people need these deeds, or attorneys need them, and we would have to go all the way down to that area to get them. So I put that as a great project for interns, and that's why everything is scanned, and that's why we wanted to give them special recognition.
Oh, good. Happy to do it. What happens with the deeds now, the paper deeds that have already been scanned?
The deeds that,
In other words, you scan a deed.
we're gonna shred them.
Now we can shred
Yeah.
those.
Instead of carrying those files wherever we go, and make room down for storage.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Before we get to comments from the council persons, Debbie? What, did you want to have this operations plan? What is,
I would, and I just realized that I didn't remember to get it up onto the screen. After the presentation last month, there were no decisions made or discussion or direction from the council with regard to what direction you'd like to go. For example, the mission for the Crawford Park Community Center was proposed, but what do you think about that mission and the vision? Do you share it? Do you want to change it, adapt it in some way? Who should be responsible for the day-to-day operations of the community center? There was a proposed organizational structure for people who would make sure that the services were provided and that the facility was cared for. What do you think about that structure? Who will be allowed to rent the areas of the Crawford Park Community Center? The town's current policy is that while the public from anywhere can use the public park, that only residents of the town of Rye may rent or can rent any of the facilities at the town of Rye. We are going from a building that used to have one large rentable space to a dozen rentable spaces. And do you still want to restrict the ability of people who don't live in the town of Rye to be able to rent facilities if they're available? Are there other aspects to that? To what extent does the council want the community center to provide services or cover its operating costs? Lastly, how will, I think the question posed here was how will we process and procedures be modernized? But we've already made the decision, the council action to adopt a web-based facility rental software, and that was voted on a couple of months ago, and that development process is actually starting. So, but those are some of the questions. Specifically, from an immediate basis, we don't have a rate structure. So people are calling to try to begin to rent the rooms, and we don't have a rate for them for some of those. So those are things that I was hoping that you would begin to discuss.
So could I just ask a clarifying question?
Absolutely.
When do we anticipate the community center being open, up and running, ready to go?
I would say late summer, early fall.
Okay. So my suggestion, and it's merely a suggestion, just hearing all the questions that Debbie has, and I think they're all valid. I don't think we're going to answer them all right now, tonight, just hearing them now. I would suggest that maybe it warrants, and I am not one who's in favor of more meetings, but perhaps like a workshop
you're right.
type
Yes.
setting that is focused just on this, because it's going to take some time to dive in and look deep and see what we really want it to be. And I think it would warrant a meeting like that, a workshop type setting where we can all just focus on this.
I agree with you.
And just to add, and I'm going to make Tony really, really happy, I think we should have at least 2 work sessions planned for Crawford Park. One to just open up the discussion, throw ideas around as far as answering each of the questions, and then another one to finalize everything that could be, brought forward and codified.
Well, I think that the questions that Debbie raises are good ones, and I think it's our fault for not concentrating, because she's been pushing this for a couple of months, and Manny's report here is really fantastic. And I think we need to ask those direct questions. The questions you asked are not, well, some of them are on here in questions asked. And I think we really need to delve deeply into those. We need to, you ask about how much it should be rented for. I have no idea. And I think what we need to do is find out from other community centers what they rented for. I mean, you have the Carver Center, you have, I can't never remember, the one in Armonk, Hergenhagen, something? That community.
Hergenhan.
Right.
Thank you,
Hergenhan.
Hergenhan. Very good.
Right, very good, Lindsay. There are other municipalities that operate community centers and have activities, and we should get an idea. Is a room going to be rented for $100 or $1,500 over a week? Does somebody want to rent the room for a 6-month period? Is that a different number than if somebody wants to have a single event? And which room? Obviously, you're going to charge more for a wedding on the main floor than you do for, a lecture or something in a room upstairs. So I think we really need to get that figured out so that we can in fact rent it.
I would just offer that an environmental scan was part of the research that Manny
Right.
did. But I understand very much that you want to see what those institutions charge, and we can ask him for that.
Right.
I think it's going to be a little difficult because the Crawford Community Center is so unique. You have your grand room where you're going to have your weddings and parties, but then you have your art room upstairs, you have your meeting rooms. I don't know how many people are going to want to have a wedding downstairs and and something else going upstairs. So it's going to be a juggling match, I think, to try to have somebody that's going to have a wedding. They're going to probably have to rent out the whole place because they're really not going to want anybody upstairs.
Well, we can, that's something that is policy that the council needs to make. I would say that there is a separate stairway upstairs.
I
And so
realize
it's
that.
possible to have a wedding and also an art class.
It's great.
It's also possible for a price for someone to rent the entire mansion and make sure that nothing else is going on but that wedding.
But if you have a wedding and you have somebody with an art room and you're gonna have kids, you know damn well those kids are gonna go down that the main staircase, and not go through the back staircase. So it might get a little cheesy.
Yeah, but also, most of the time, the weddings are gonna be on the weekends, and people who have classes will be having it during the week, not on the weekends.
Or in the evenings.
Most of the
No,
time.
and there are some people that do have weddings on Friday nights and stuff to save
Well,
a few
we
bucks.
could-
But,
we
you
could
know,
plan
I
for
know,
it.
we gotta discuss it.
Right.
And we also have to keep in mind that this community center is unique in that a lot of the area community centers have departments of recreation where they have their own programming as well that competes with outside programming. We don't have that. We are looking to, be more accessible to outside programming to promote the use of the center as well, at least for the first, few
Well, one
years.
is-
And that's something that we have to take into
No
account.
matter what we come up with, there's gonna be some bugs that we're gonna have to work out, that's a guarantee. But I think overall, it's gonna be really dynamite, because it's gonna be really beautiful when it's done. And I think, word of mouth is gonna get out there, and I don't think we're gonna have any problems renting any of the spaces. It's just, we just gotta come up with our structure, what we wanna price, and how we wanna run it.
And so I would
And
just
what our
come back.
residents can afford. I'm sorry.
I would just come back to what I started off with. I think this discussion is kind of evidence that we just need time to sit together and figure these things out.
I agree.
And maybe you can start by polling all of us tomorrow and just give us some possible dates and times, early evening, we can go for a couple hours. And then if we have to come back for a second one, we can do that. And then just focus on some of the questions that you laid out, I think are good ones.
Excellent ones.
And we can start with those and then see where we get. But I think as long as we know that we're looking at late summer, early fall, that's when we're gonna open, that's when we need something in place. That gives us a focus and allows us to prioritize what we need to get done before that.
And I would also suggest when we look at scheduling to look at Tuesday nights. I don't know about you guys, but I know that I tend to keep my Tuesday nights open just because that's when we have board meetings. So, on off weeks, Tuesday nights may be a good place to start.
You just send out 3 or 4 possibilities and, whoever, whatever
Yeah,
majority rules.
Yep.
Okay.
Just,
good.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments from council people?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was really thrilled to take part in Rybrook's birthday. Debbie and I were really excited to see the enthusiasm among many of the people who were there about asking a lot of questions about what was going on with the Crawford Community Center. One woman who came to us talked about her church having had an event there at one time, and just her so looking forward to the modernization and seeing what it was going to be like. And already without even having seen it, saying that she was, hoping to go back to her church and sort of say, hey, this would be a great place to come back to. So I do think it's imperative for us to start to set some, solid guidelines, because I do think the interest is there, and it would behoove all of us to kind of seize that momentum and really get people excited before it even opens. And what else? Yeah, it was just a terrific day. I want to just thank Debbie. She was there all day. We had a lovely shady spot, but it was really, really nice. And County Executive George Latimer and Assemblyman Steve Otis were also there. So it was really a terrific day, a great success, and hopefully a harbinger of what's to come for Crawford Park. It looks terrific. It was so wonderful to see how many kids were using the sensory garden and the playgrounds and really just loving it. It's a real treasure for the community, and it's really nice to see it come to fruition.
Did you like the nice new parking lot?
Beautiful. Let me tell you, that was a beautiful parking lot. Maybe I've been on the board long enough to appreciate infrastructure in a whole new way, but it was really, and people were even saying that, because, you're used to having to kind of park on gravel or grass, and it was just so centrally located, a beautifully, just, seeing what's going on with some of the road work, it was so nice to drive into this beautiful new parking lot. Yeah, it looks terrific. I hadn't been there in a little, so I really had an appreciation had some perspective about how substantial the progress has been and how terrific it really is.
The elevator is supposed to be delivered this week.
Yes, that's
And
what I was told, and it's really something to see. The progress that's been made so far is really, it's very heartening because it's really great.
Thank
And
you.
they really have stayed so true, that sort of goal of staying true to the structure of the building and keeping it sort of a time and place and yet reflective of the current needs of the community. It's
I
really
think
been
you're
wonderful.
absolutely right.
And
Yeah.
I think just to build on what you said and to really thank, Debbie for all her work over the
Yes.
past few years. Gary and Tommy have been exceptional in helping this come to fruition. And the three of you have really done a great job.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think it should be recognized, all the hard work you guys put in, because
Thank you.
it's really been a labor of love.
I'd like to add to that our new Director of Grounds and Facilities, Vic Federico, really pulled out the stops to get Crawford Park ready to show off. And from early morning to late in the evening, and in fact, John Zicka, I know, was giving lots and lots of effort to making sure that the grounds were taken care of, his responsibility. Greenway Property Services were there, making sure that their role, their responsibilities were taken care of, and it was a full court press. We also, you should please drive by and see the new entrance planting that being there, landscape designers not only designed but also physically planted last week with the assistance of the Friends of Crawford Park who have been just remarkable.
And our signage, we approved the signage. When do you think that's going in?
Well, I think it's certainly in production. We know that the materials were ordered and probably delivered, so I imagine they're being manufactured right now.
Great.
Good.
Great, and, just to add to it, because I understand that this is a big project, this is, the town has undertaken some major infrastructure projects, not just Crawford Park, but these are assets to the community, and I truly feel, and one of the reasons why I voted for these capital projects to go forward is because they're gonna be an asset to the community and well valued among the residents, so I'm excited to have participated in that way.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna backtrack a little bit with the Rye Brook Day. Also like the Village of Rye Brook's DPW, who really did a great job keeping the place clean and helping the vendors bring stuff back and forth to their tents. So they did a really good job too. And also Shelley Mayer showed up early. She was there earlier in the morning. But it was a good day, and I just wish everybody a happy 4th and safe 4th of July.
I enjoyed marching in the Memorial Day Parade. It was another beautiful day, and it's always nice to see people out there. I wasn't able to be here last month, but I did want to make mention of the fact that our Sustainability Committee had our first annual cleanup day on May 11th.
Great.
Hope was there, and Debbie was there, and a lot of eager volunteers. And we did some good work that day, and hopefully part of this is educating the public about hopefully one day the need not to have events like this, because everybody is taking care of their own, so to speak. But it was a good day. We thank Port Chester's DPW, who helped us cleaning up the trash afterwards and putting them in the trucks. And Colony Pizza hosted our volunteers for lunch after the event was over. So it was a great community day with a purpose, and we hope there are many more to come in the
Great.
future.
Thanks, Tony. I'm not going to really add anything. I think that things are moving along, and I also wish everybody a great 4th of July. Come out to Crawford Park, come out to Rytown Park, and enjoy it. Hopefully the weather will be nice. We have a short executive session. And I don't think we're going to be coming back afterwards, so may I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And the meeting is adjourned.